Hello again, everyone. Another message off of Facebook. I have another good story. It's going to be hard to keep it coherent. I was 19, just married, pregnant. We got married, no one knew I was pregnant, and I like to think that wasn't the reason, but it was a little bit. It was 1981. Things were a little different. I had a good job, and he worked for his family, so he had a bad job. We were told by his completely narcissistic parents, I had no clue back then, that we had to move to Florida to help my husband's brother start a business. So we did as we were told. My husband was only 20, by the way, and the scapegoat. You have to move to help your brother start a business. The life of a scapegoat never ends, I guess, huh? So I quit my job, a carrier job. It was Michigan Bell back then, but it was a good job and hard to come by, and I liked it and could have somehow made a career out of it back then. So we moved. We had enough. We had to move into the parents' vacation home with my husband's brother and his wife. Wow. His wife, words cannot describe what a complete bullshit, greedy, self-serving piece of shit narc she was and still is. She is worse than my husband's family. She is just So February moves to March and her dog. Her fucking dog Mika. Here we go. Another dog story. Ticks and fleas everywhere. I am pregnant and bitten up bad. There are leeches in the pool. The doctor is yelling at me about my bites, and I am a scratcher. Guess whose fault it was? Not the dog, my husband. His name is Tony. So enough with my husband. It was totally Tony's fault because he walked through the grass and went fishing in it and went fishing in the creek. Well, that's narcissist logic right there. Somehow, some way, it's their fault. And the in-laws were on board. It was Tony. And it was Davie, Florida in July. Oh my God. Yeah, Davie's down here by me. And July and the grass, the ticks and the fleas are just overrun. It is just horrible. So to blame your husband for going fishing by a creek is just another example of the narcissist when we refuse to take responsibility for anything, especially when their goddamn dogs are involved. And they were too cheap to turn on the air. Of course they were. Yay. 8 and 9 months pregnant in South Florida and no air. They could afford it. Hell, I would have paid for it. But I didn't have a say. Oh, and the family business. They all took the money out of that, and we were starving. My narc asshole father-in-law, who liked the dog better, called and said, "Go to the bank and find out what is going on." I did, and what was going on was there was pages of checks missing for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's personal use. The last time I saw that stupid bitch Lorraine, I was hiding in the tampon aisle of Rite Aid, her screaming at me. Well, narcissists and money are not a mix. And then you add dogs into it. When your husband was the scapegoat, I'm sure he still is, they are going to find a way to blame you for everything. For everything. You should have turned around and demanded the money back from your in-laws who forced you into this business. Forced you to move, forced you into this business because they are friggin' responsible. And again, another example of a narcissist putting a pet before the welfare of their own children, their own future grandchildren, to prop up what I can only imagine is the golden child retard of the family. And when that bitch of a sister-in-law was yelling at you, you should have grabbed a box of fucking tampons and stuffed her mouth with them. Unbelievable. Gaslighting story. Once a long time ago, at least 10 years, my in-laws had a cottage on a lake that we all used. Well, Sister-in-law 1 had a couple of dogs. Sister-in-law 2 had a couple of dogs. We had 1 dog. Sister-in-law 1 and 2 brought their dogs there all the time. It was all good. We bring our dog. All hell breaks loose. We had our dog. In-laws suddenly hate dogs. Father-in-law actually made a gun with his hand and fake shot our dog with his finger. My daughter was like really upset. We got kicked out of said cottage. I was just like frantically packing our stuff to leave when my husband came into a room and started in on me that I should not have brought the dog. I asked him, what about sister-in-law 1 and 2 and their dogs, and are we really being kicked out because of our dog? He said yes. I said you could put a gun to my head and I will never ever come back here. He said good. Flash forward. Well, before we even get to that, like I've said before, the rules that apply to the narcissist and the enablers don't apply to you. As ridiculous as this is something I dealt with when I was married with our cats. Okay, my mother used to bring our cats down the shore to my grandmother Virginia's house every time we went down there, weeks on end. Okay, my Aunt Barbara would bring her dogs. My mother's friend Florence would bring her dog, a pit bull, which wasn't a problem that it was a pit bull. It was the biggest pussy dog you ever seen in your life. I actually love that dog. Its name was Tuffy. It actually looked like Spuds McKenzie. But the rules that apply don't apply to you. When I got married and when I had cats of my own, my cats were never allowed down the shore. All of a sudden, there were cat allergies or pet allergies. Okay? The rules that apply to the narcissist do not apply to the narcissist scapegoat or their siblings. This is a message I also gave to somebody else who follows my channel, who was the black sheep, and the husband didn't understand why he was being shit on. Because when you marry the black sheep, you become a black sheep as well. It doesn't matter to the narcissist. Anybody who the black sheep scapegoat has close to them is going to become a black sheep as well by proxy, just because you are the black sheep. That's how that works with the narcissist. The rules don't apply to you. It's a different standard. You are always going to be Cinderella, okay, scrubbing the floors as far as they can, being thrown out of wherever, whenever they feel like it. That's just the dynamic they have set up. The only way to deal with it is to cut them out of your lives completely. And I guarantee you, your husband, okay, will probably end up defending them to some effect because he doesn't have the balls to stand up to them. Flash forward. My son and his family are here from Texas. They went to my in-laws' house today, and sister-in-law 1 is there for the holidays in my ridiculous in-laws' house with their dogs. I'm like, what? It was a flashback because they were so against us having our dog around. But their dogs are better than our family. Long story short, I made this an argument to my husband, and he denied to me the cottage thing didn't happen. I can remember what I was wearing. It was such a big deal at the moment, but it never happened now. See, I know it. Like, I knew it. They browbeat these guys because they don't want the argument. Your husband is, for some reason, still afraid of his mommy and daddy, and he needs to man up and stand up for his wife and children for once in his fucking life. Oh, and to add to it, sister-in-law 3 called me the next day telling me how worried my mother-in-law was we were getting a divorce over the whole thing. Not likely. She was hoping for that outcome. Of course, what she's doing there is using sister-in-law 3 to plant the narcissistic seed in your scapegoated husband's head to leave you. That's what she's doing, this evil bitch. You should have fucking said, never call me again, and I hope all your dogs get fucking run over by a power mower. And that's not against the dogs, that's against you people. And I hope the current okay dogs visiting have fleas. I know I ramble, sorry. Anyway, my husband denying this ever happened is so not right. He knows it happened, and I know it happened to two of our daughters. So two of our daughters were there and know it happened. It happened. Gaslighting is fucked up. You need to tell your husband in no uncertain terms, you are either going to admit this happened or you can get the fuck out and you can go live with mommy and daddy. It's time for him to put his big boy fucking pants on and stop being a little emasculated pussy, because that's exactly what he's being. A little emasculated pussy. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to your husband. I'm trying to help the dude. I'm trying to help him. He let his pregnant 19-year-old wife get eaten up in South Florida, take the blame. He allows his parents to fucking throw you out at will, be able to let his three sisters abuse you at will. Enough is enough is enough. And your children were there, so he allowed his children to get browbeaten and abused. You need to tell your children, even though they might be adults, listen, you need to stay away from these people because they're fucking dangerous. Okay? And you need to tell your two daughters who witnessed it, okay, listen, you need to make sure they remember the story the same way you did. And if they do, you need to have them tell your husband, no, this happened and you need to admit it right now. And you need to stand up to your parents and get them the fuck out of your life. Your parents and your three narcissistic ugly sisters, because only ugly bitches act like this, okay? And I'm sure they're quite jealous of you. I'm sure they're quite jealous of you, and that's where a lot of this comes from. They brought you down there when you were 20 years old to destroy your life because they knew the other son was a fuck up, But they weren't going to have him do better than them. And that's what it is. And they love to control through air conditioning. These are all tactics both my parents used and continue to use for years. And it will never change. Okay? For you going forward, you need to make a stand with your husband. Say, no, you're going to deal with this, and you're going to deal with this now, because this has been going on for how many goddamn decades, and it continues to go on with their goddamn dogs. With their goddamn dogs. A dog is better than you. And you need to say that. As far as your family is concerned, their dogs are better than you, me, your children, whatever you have, whatever you own. And it needs to end. And it's going to end now. You're going to face this down and you're going to admit it. Otherwise, you have to decide who's more important to you in your life. Me, your wife, and your children, or your fucked up family that's done nothing but abuse you your entire life and continues to abuse you your entire life. You know, it's like I almost want to tell you to call your mother-in-law and face her down and say every horrible thing you can think of. You want a reason to hate me? I'll give you a reason to hate me, bitch. Because you're going to hate me anyway. You're going to hate me and no matter what I do. And, you know, that's something I kind of got to, like, put some more thought into as well. As I tell, you know, I tell some people, you know, how to deal with a confrontation with their parents to try to avoid it, you know, to avoid being the bad guy. You're going to be the bad guy no matter what you do. So maybe, and this is a decision you're going to have to make for yourselves, is it better for me to avoid the confrontation and be the bad guy anyway? Or should I just finally tell them to their faces what I really think of them, that I see through your bullshit and to fuck off, and good, now you have a reason to hate me. Have fun with it. Have fun with your dogs and your misery and your fleas in your sweltering houses in the summer. Fuck off. Fuck off, all of you. And you should tell your husband if that's the way you want to go live, there's the door. Go have at it. Go have at it. If they're so wonderful. If they're so wonderful, what are you doing here and not with them? And it's for your husband's own good. Not for some kind of revenge on your husband, because your husband will continue to do this for the rest of his life. He needs to stand up, put on his big boy pants, and face these people down. And for once in his life, have your back and support you in regards to them. So thank you for your message. I appreciate it. I hope this helped. Sorry I was so aggressive, but like stories like this really do trigger me because they remind me of my own family. So, but what I said holds true. You can't allow this to happen with your husband anymore. You can't allow him to keep rewriting history. At some point he has to stand up for himself, or he's not going to be able, or he's going to have to make a decision whether or not, you know, his family's more important. His family that he chose is more important rather than the family he was born into and didn't have a choice over. So hope that helps. Thank you. Anybody who can offer some advice, please leave it in the comment thread below. And again, if you enjoy this channel, please consider making a contribution to the PayPal link in the description box. And remember, a contribution of any size, if you want your story read on the channel, you go right to the top of the list. Also, if you want to make a contribution and do a Skype video call, we can do that as well. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon.